Everyone, it's Roger and James here from the DisKingdom podcast. In this episode, we're just going to be talking a little bit briefly about the Defenders TV show, which recently went on to Netflix. I know we're a little bit late, but just before the Punisher kicks in, I thought we would have a quick discussion on this. And because apparently viewing figures for Netflix were down on this series. They weren't up there, massively down on Series 2 of Daredevil. And for me, it seems a bit odd because I actually thought that the Defender series was actually pretty good.
I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought it was a pretty good end cap to Phase 1 of the Netflix shows. I enjoyed seeing all the characters coming together. There were some good fight scenes. There were some lesser scenes that weren't quite as good. But on the whole, it was an enjoyable series. I think that anybody who's watched any of the Netflix series, even if it was just Daredevil or just Jessica Jones, will find something to like here. And you don't necessarily need to have seen, Iron Fist or Daredevil Season 2 or whatever.
I think this series benefited from being a bit shorter. That 8 episodes meant that it didn't have that, like, what I call the reset point, which all the other ones used to have, where, right, we've reached a point where we've finished the first half of the story, but now we're going to move on to the second half. It took a little bit longer to get going than I would have liked.
Right. It was an interesting combination because it's a more focused story because you only have the 8 episodes. But because they were telling only one story, they were able to let that story kind of breathe out a bit. It took a very long time for the 4 characters to come together.
Yeah.
It took a while for them to kind of unite and be like, okay, yeah, we should actually fight. I think there was an entire episode that was basically just dedicated to Jessica Jones being like, I don't want to be a part of this. And then at the end of it, she's like, okay, I'll be a part of this.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, because it's kind of that odd bit with... personally, I wonder if the drop-off has been not so much just from this series, it's just been like a casual drop-off from, right, I love Daredevil, I liked Jessica Jones, but maybe I dropped off there. And, I like Luke Cage, I didn't like it, so I dropped off there. Then Daredevil Season 2 comes in, that's really good, oh yeah, but now I'm dropping off. Iron Fist, after people left. At which point, every time there's been another series, they've lost people. And by the time they got to the Defenders, they've lost the ones from the beginning, because in some ways, they talk about like Iron Fist being bad, the fact that that's what... Iron Fist wasn't that bad. It wasn't dreadful. It wasn't that bad.
It was mediocre. It was average. It was decent. I mean, it certainly wasn't like the worst thing ever, which reviews would make you think. But I attribute that mostly to just the modern mentality of either something is amazing or it's absolute garbage, which is not a good way of looking at things, because there's a lot of decent stuff that's highly enjoyable, even if it's not, like Mozart worthy or whatever. No, I think that there's also a difference in the climate right now in terms of the Netflix ecosystem. When Daredevil Season 1 came out, Netflix was only publishing 5 or 6 original content series per year. Now, when the Defenders came out, it was sandwiched in between several other shows that they released. Everyone's getting hyped up for Stranger Things Season 2, which I haven't even seen the first one yet. And it feels like Netflix is becoming that new DVR situation where it's like, I am watching 8 different shows, and inevitably I will fall behind on 6 of them, and The Defenders was the one that people fell behind on.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I also feel like there's superhero fatigue. I've been saying it for a while, and the more that they keep churning out, I'm thinking, if I have got superhero fatigue, then your average, my wife turning around and going, I don't want to watch this anymore. I mean, she did Defenders. We did actually plow through it in 3 days, which was rare, but too many series. There's Flash, Arrow, Legion, Eva. I don't think I even managed to finish Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because it just got to that point of like, I can't keep up with all this. I haven't got time to keep up with them all. Netflix was the only reason I got it was for Daredevil. And I thought Defenders was very good, but there's just too much.
There's absolutely too much. Now, I still keep up with all of them, but I'm definitely more, on the extreme end of that, and that's because I've just been a lifelong comics fan. It's not even necessarily burnout on it, although that is legitimately a thing at the moment. I think there's also a lot of confusion now, because I'll talk to my mom about it, and she's just like, I need you to write a list of the superhero movies that I should see, and I'm like, well, you should see these ones and these ones, but they're not connected, and these ones are connected.
Yeah.
These ones are Marvel, but they're not owned by Marvel, so they're not connected to the Avengers, and it's just, how is anybody who's not living and breathing this supposed to understand what's connected? Why isn't the Punisher showing up in Wonder Woman? Well, they're completely different universes. Oh, why isn't Superman in the Avengers?
Yeah.
And I think that this, as we get more and more and more shows and movies, it's just going to get worse because how can anybody keep track of all this?
And the trouble is, as well, I feel like, to me, the Defenders actually kicked up the ante a bit because, if you do get a superhero series where they go, we're just going to toy around with the origins but never actually show you the characters, not good enough anymore. You need to see them. You need to do it. Personally, I feel like the Punisher series coming up, it's like, we don't need it. We didn't need it. I don't feel like, it's like the Punisher series is supposed to be coming out October, and the trailer looks really good, and I'm a bit like, but I don't need it this year. You've already given me Iron Fist and Defenders. This should be held back. We don't need it.
There definitely is that feeling of, between 3 Netflix shows, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Inhumans, 2 movies, and heck, this year we were lucky because there weren't any Fantastic Four or X-Men movies coming out. So
right, Logan.
Oh, that's right, Logan did.
And we had Legion.
And we had Legion, and The Gifted is coming out.
And
that's just Marvel.
Yeah.
That's just Marvel. DC's got
and
5
and Cloak and
5
Dagger.
shows. I'm Runaways. I am definitely sitting on this one. Like, I am very worried about the status of Runaways because we know nothing about it, and it's supposed to be out in like a month and a half or so.
Inhumans, I've not even seen it promoted over here, and it's like that's dead in the water before it's even got going. They're overcooking it.
Yeah, they need to kind of to draw it back, kind of consolidate their resources, and there's nothing wrong with what they've released so far. Maybe Inhumans, there might be some things wrong with that. Right. Not based on reviews, but yeah, I have not seen it. I didn't go see it when it was in theaters. It might still be in theaters for all I know.
I saw La La Land a couple of weeks ago, and that got great reviews. It was rubbish.
I don't know if it was rubbish, but I definitely fell asleep. So, but it's also not our kind of movie, to be fair.
A glowing endorsement.
Not our kind of movie, to be fair. But yeah, there's just too much. And so far, none of it has been bad. I mean, Agent Carter was kind of iffy. Inhuman sounds like it's a train wreck. I'm very worried about the status of Runaways. But, even the worst Marvel movies have still been entertaining. And at some point, that's not going to be the case anymore. And it really looks like we're getting there sooner rather than later.
It definitely feels like. I feel like the Defenders. It's so bad because in some ways there was so much hype for this thing of bringing that Avengers feeling of bringing them all together, and we were waiting for it, and it was supposed to be this big epic TV event, and it kind of came out, and it was a little bit like a flavor of the day, and then it was done. Like all the people that were excited about it saw it over a weekend, and then it was done and dusted, and it didn't really. It's like we've been waiting years for this. I've spent like 40 hours of television time getting hyped up for this, and it seemed to be just done and dusted and over with.
Yeah, and then that might be some of, again, Netflix's own problem, though, where, it's the flavor of the moment at Netflix. this week it's The Defenders, then it's Marco Polo Season 2, and then it's Stranger Things Season 2, and then, just on and on and on again.
I must admit, it's like we got the new Star Trek Discovery show starts this week on Netflix over here.
You got it on Netflix? We have to pay for a completely different streaming, which I'm not going to do.
My dad was just like, he's a massive Star Trek fan, so he's just like, he was on about it. He was like, it starts this week. It's like, does it? I can even. My dad is telling me when Star Trek was starting on Netflix because he knew more than I did, and it's on a day delay kind of thing. And it's just like, it's an old person mentality of like, giving it us all in one go is not good for us.
Well, I don't think Star Trek is going to go in one go. I think they're going to release it weekly. But yeah, Defenders. But this is how people watch now. This is how, especially the millennials, which technically I am. I think I missed the cutoff by like a year or so. Yeah. But
we're
point being, binge watching is the current way to watch shows, and inevitably that results in you being like, well, I finished The Defenders in a day and a half. What's next?
The only trouble is it does feel like, say you did only get one Marvel TV series a year. If you binge it all in a day, you've got nothing left for the rest of the year. And I think the trouble is when you binge watch, sometimes as well, you're distracted by something else, but you're not taking it all in the same, and you're missing stuff. When you have to wait that weekly thing, and I just feel like this whole binge system doesn't help. I really hope it's like Punisher. If it was on a new episode weekly for 3 months, would it continue I was like, and it lets people catch up, because now it's quite daunting.
Right, and this is what we're going to see over the next couple of years is, are the major networks going to move over to this kind of system? Is this going to become the new normal? Or is this system not going to be able to support its own weight, and something else will rise up instead?
My problem is the budgets for these TV shows are going to drop because they're not getting the run of them. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I mean, I personally, when the new Disney streaming service goes on, I hope that they have their own weekly TV show, and maybe cut back on everybody else's and just go all in on their own.
It would be kind of nice, and they do have to incentivize the people to make the jump over to the Disney streaming service. Obviously, we talked about this last week in more depth, but there has to be a reason for people to go to the Disney. Yeah. And if The Defenders is an indication of what they can expect from future Netflix series in terms of viewership, that's not a ringing endorsement for jumping over there. Now, if you have a small kid, sure, because you can turn on Mickey Mouse or whatever anytime you want, which is ultimately, a good thing. But if you're going to sell it on the basis of, this is where Defenders Season 2 and Runaways Season 2 will be at, it's looking less and less like a good value proposition.
But we'd love to know what you guys think of the current state of what's going on, obviously, with the Defenders and the other ones. Love to know your thoughts. James, where can they find you?
You can find me heroiclegacy.com.
Okay, and you can find us over at DisKingdom.com. Remember to hit that subscribe button, and we shall see you guys in another episode. Later.